Welcome into an all-new edition of Daily Faceoff Live. Happy Friday. Happy New Year. This has got to be the least productive workday of the year. And I mean that not quite as a joke that it's only day 2 of 2026. I just mean I'm surprised there's any of you even working today, but we are, so you have nothing to worry about on that front. As always, we're streaming live on the DFO YouTube, and as always, we are a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Tyler Yaremchuk, and he is not my usual co-host, Carter Hutton. He is Steve Peters. Usually you join us as a guest. You're in the big chair today. It's the same chair you're always in, but metaphorically speaking, of course.
Yeah, pretty excited, and I'm a backup for the goaltender, Carter Hutton. Kind of excited, kind of nervous. This is like some big shoes to fill. But like you said, it's the least productive day so far of 2020. So what better show to have me on than that?
You are the backup for the man who made a career out of being, well, for the most part, a backup. So there's my one daily
Don't
shot.
tell him that. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to say that to Hutz, who was a backup here in Arizona. So it's not that big of a slam. So,
we are going to be joined by Jonny Lazarus for our big segment coming up in about 10-15 minutes time. He's going to help us break down the Team USA roster that was announced today, and he's also down in Miami for the Winter Classic, which goes down in just a couple of hours. So plenty to get to with Jonny Lazarus. We'll talk about the Finnish and Swedish rosters that were announced today as well. But let's kick things off with the big story. Team USA and GM Bill Guerin officially announcing the group that will be going to Milan in just over a month to try and win gold for Team USA. And I think what's notable here, and it's a similar conversation to the one we had a couple of days ago about Team Canada, it's the players who aren't going. Cole Caufield, Jason Robertson, Adam Fox. Hell, I'd probably include Matthew Nyes in that group. And we'll talk more about the Fox thing with Jonny, considering his ties to the New York Rangers. But up front here, are you surprised, Petey, that like Nyes, Caufield, Robertson, they're off? And I mean, hey, JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, I think there is a case here. Like a guy like Jason Robertson, he's one of 3 players in the league who had 50 goals in the calendar year of 2025. Like, I just have a hard time wrapping my head around not including that guy in this group.
Yeah, this is hard. And this is one of the things that happens when you build a team like this. You do bias based on who is. You look at Mike Sullivan and you look at the New York Ranger bias. I know Adam Fox is left off, but you look at a player like Vinny Trocheck and who is going to be more valuable when they get to it. And those are the players. I know they're trying to build the best team, but you're looking at the leading point getter by Americans right now in the National Hockey League is Jason Robertson. And to leave him off this roster, you don't want to regret having left somebody off. So when this tournament's all said and done, you don't want to go, we really could used a goal here or a power play goal there, or somebody that could get a shot through from the top of the circle, and we didn't have that. And that's the concern when you look at snubs. But I hate the word snub because they had a reason for putting Vinny Trocheck on this team. They're looking for penalty killers. They're looking for somebody that can help check some of these top players from these other teams. So they do have slots. But I said it. You look at the top 10 American scorers in the National Hockey League right now, 5 of them, 5 are off of this list.
That's a crazy thing to look at. And you can go back to the Four Nations face-off. And, you know, in a way, I was surprised that, you know, Canada brought back the same blue line, because I was like, man, if one goal goes in that overtime against USA and Canada doesn't get the win, they're probably only bringing back 4 of those blue liners. But they sit there and go, hey, we won. We're sticking with what works. And on the flip side of that, I'm surprised there wasn't a little bit more of, I don't want to call it an overreaction, but a reaction in general for Team USA not winning that tournament. And yes, you could say, hey, if Jordan Binnington doesn't make a crazy save, they beat Canada twice. Remember, they won that round robin preliminary round game. But like, how do you not come out of that tournament? And, you know, Kyle Connor was a healthy scratch in that game. How do you not come out of that final game of the Four Nations and go, you know what? Maybe an extra one-shot score would have been the way to make the difference. Like, you didn't lose that game. You didn't lose to Canada because you didn't win enough face-offs or kill enough penalties. Vincent Trocheck, I think, was the only American who took a penalty in that final game. Like, I just think the one-shot score element, like you said, you don't want to regret not bringing anybody. I think you will regret. If you regret anything and don't win, you'll regret not having enough scoring.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that happens when you use rosters. You talk legacy spots. And Vinny Trocheck has been a good soldier, say, throughout his career. And he's a guy that fills those rosters. But at some point, you got to start moving on these guys. And I know that's difficult to do. You get, tugs on the heart. You see Drew Doughty in Canada Is he a guy that you're using for your leadership or his play on the ice? Is Vinny Trocheck going to help in the room and be one of those glue veteran guys that helps them? Because they're valuable in a 2-week tournament. Or, like you said, is that one goal going to make a difference? And I thought with the Four Nations, I thought the Americans had the ability to check with Team Canada, which was a huge concern. But you look at their offense, and I do get concerned. And Kyle Connor is one that I thought I was incredibly surprised didn't play in that or get a lot of ice time through the Four Nations. I think he's going to be a key player as this tournament in the Olympics progresses. But Jason Robertson is the one to me that I would look at and go, gosh, are you sure? Are you sure? Because Vinny Trocheck to me is a pretty one-dimensional guy that's not going to be the guy that you're looking to count on when you're looking to get a goal. He's not jumping over the boards when you're down by 1 or 2. So he's the one to me that we'll question. And Billy Guerin, we'll see when the tournament starts. Maybe Trocheck is a great penalty killer. He's blocking shots, and he is the guy that helps put them over the hump. But until then, we get to speculate on some of the mistakes that Team USA might have made.
Yeah, and again, you're right. The game's not played on paper. If Vincent Trocheck wins a couple of face-offs during a key third period penalty kill in a medal game, like, we're going to forget about all this debate and no one's going to be talking about Jason Robertson, but it's a pretty big what if. We'll get more into this with Jonny Lazarus in a little bit. He'll certainly have some takes on who is and isn't on Team USA's roster, but there were a couple of other countries and federations who announced their rosters for the 2026 games in Milan. Both Finland and Sweden officially putting out their list of players earlier on today as well. And let's start with the Swedes, a handful of new additions to this team who were not there at the Four Nations Faceoff. Up front, hey, you're getting a guy like Gabriel Landeskog in the lineup. Isn't that massive if you want to talk about leadership and all those other things? He obviously was hurt. Alexander Venberg wasn't there when they went to the Four Nations. Pontus Holmberg. So a bunch of fresh faces up front. On the blue line, Sweden did kind of remake things a little bit. Mattias Ekholm, who's really slowed down over the last 12 months, he's off in favor of Philip Broberg. Oliver Ekman-Larsson gets a spot over Ekholm as well. What do you make of this Swedish group here? I mean, like, listen, their identity is the goaltending, really good, although you can only play one of them. I always laugh when people go, oh, they have 3 unbelievable goalies. And it's like, yeah, one of them can be a net at a time, but this blue line is legit.
Yeah, I think when you look at these teams, we all talk about it, and I know there's a North American bias here where we talk about Team Canada and we talk about Team USA, and we really scour those rosters for the players they have. But when you look at Team Sweden, they're a team, it's very well built from top. They're lacking that big offensive push like you talk about a McDavid and a McKinnon. They don't have that. So this team is going to have to defend well. If this team is going to win and be a team that's going to compete in this Olympic, they're going to have to defend. And that's going to start in the net where I think, like you saw, but can they be quick back end? And you talk about Oliver Ekman, player that I hear a lot in Arizona. He's had surgeons. He makes those smart plays, but I do get concerned about their ability to play with speed and play with pace from the back end in Sweden. If this team's going to be in contention in the Olympics, they're going to have to defend. They're not going to beat Canada and US 7-6. That's not how that's going to work for Team Sweden. So I do think this back end is going to have to be the glue that puts Sweden through if they're going to compete in the Olympics.
I like that you said that, playing with pace, because I do think that highlights, again, the 2 guys they added, Broberg, Ekman-Larsson. Those are guys who can move the puck up ice. So I do think they recognize that. For me, up front with them, the swing guys, Leo Carlsson, like, you look at their depth down the middle of the ice, and it's not on par with a Canada or a USA. As much as I like a lot of the players that they brought, if your 2 best centermen in this tournament are going to be Zibanejad and Pettersson, you aren't going to win. You aren't going to get a medal. But if Leo Carlsson can be a legit workhorse, and he's been awesome this year in Anaheim, taking a massive step forward, if Joel Eriksson can be that pain in the ass sort of shutdown center, then I do think Sweden has a chance to compete with the big dogs, as they usually do. The other country in this conversation, PD, is, of course, Finland, who is the only one of the big 4 to include a player who's not in the NHL. One of their defensemen plays overseas, Mikko Lehtinen. But again, we're not going to sit here and talk about the 7th, 8th defenseman on Finland. For me, the conversation is up front. Do they have the firepower? We know they're going to play with that classic stingy, gritty Finnish identity. And you look at guys like Lehtinen and even Rantanen. Rantanen's leading the NHL in penalty minutes this year. Like, they are going to be tough to play against, but do they have the skill to compete? That's always the question with Finland.
Yeah, I worry with Finland with that. One of the things that makes Finland so competitive in these international tournaments, we've seen it in the World Juniors, we've seen it in the Olympics, is how they play as a unit, and they play a certain style where they defend incredible. And I think that's going to be the key to Team Finland, is how quickly this team can gel. Because we talked about the stars lacking in Team Sweden. Well, that's definitely the case with Team Finland. And you talk about Barkov not being a part of this team. That can sway this team, not just offensively, but defensively as well. His absence is going to be incredibly hard for Finland to overcome. I don't know if the Swedish roster right now is good enough to compete with the other three teams we just mentioned. I think we talk about role players. They got a lot of role players, and role players can play a role in a tournament like this if everything clicks. We talk about incredible defending. They get opportunistic goals. You got Sebastian Aho can get that goal if you had the opposing defense, but they've got some speed with Rupe Hintz. I just don't know if they've got enough firepower that they can get over the big two in this tournament.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I love that you brought him up, but like you could subtract any one player off of Canada, USA, and even Sweden's roster, and then you could be like, you know what? They can overcome that. I don't think there's any player who is as important to his country as Alexander Barkov was to Team Finland. You just talk about having that presence down the middle, having that dynamic skill who plays the 200-footer, as Jeff Merrick joked at these Olympics, it'll be a 196-foot game. But like, man, losing Barkov, it's impossible for them to overcome. Like, it really is such a shame.
Yeah, it is. And I think that the other thing, though, Ty, is you just don't know. You just don't know when you're playing for 2 weeks. There are some issues with both of the rosters in Canada and the US, and Tkachuk hasn't played yet. And how is he going to be able to get up to speed this quickly and be an effective player that they look to eat a lot of minutes for Team USA? You just don't know how they're going to come together. Is Binnington going to have the tournament that he had in the Four Nations? All of these things need to come together, and they need to come together on day one. Like you don't have time to go, well, we'll try or that line. It's got to be up to speed right away. And I do think that's where these other teams do have an opportunity. If they can gel and get together quickly and find some combinations that are working, they could get it going for a few days, and they could surprise somebody because they had a good game or the goaltender stood on his head. And you see that with UC Saros could have a great tournament. You just don't know what that piece is going to be in these short tournaments, and injuries. Who's going to get hurt? Somebody going to get hurt in the exhibition games, or somebody going to get hurt early in the tournament, and that way that team competes for the rest of the.
All right, we're going to pause the Olympic talk for a quick second here. We'll get back into things with Jonny Lazarus in a little bit, but it is our first show of 2026. So as we do every year on Daily Faceoff Live, we're going to give out some resolutions to a couple of different teams around the NHL. PD, I got a few, but I will let you go first. Who's the first, or what is the first resolution that you want to give out?
Well, I know we all want to get healthier, and this is about quitting smoking. And it's not so much the Colorado Avalanche, it's the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars want Colorado Avalanche to quit smoking. Their first in goals. They've gone 12 straight games without a regulation loss. They only have 2 on the season. Everybody in the West right now wants the Colorado Avalanche to quit smoking.
I think that's a good one. Next one, or the first one I got, I'm going out to the hottest team in the NHL right now, and it's actually, it's the Buffalo Sabres. They've won 10 in a row, but my resolution for them is just going to be to find some pace and consistency. Everybody knows a guy who January 1, he goes, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to get in shape. And for all of January, he's there every day, every second day, working out. And then February comes and it's like, and it kind of just loses its steam and dies off. That's who the Buffalo Sabres are. Every year, we spend how much time being like, not good enough, not good enough. Oh, they win 10 in a row. Hottest team in the NHL. They're back in the mix. And then what happens? They fall off. They lose their steam. Nobody wants the Buffalo Sabres to be that guy that this year. No one wants them to be that team. The 10-game winning streak is great because it's gotten your season back on track and you're in a playoff spot, but you need to consistently play 550 to 600 hockey. The Buffalo Sabres need to find that consistency. Don't be the guy who only goes to the gym for a month and then loses it all in the next few months. PD, I'll give you the floor for one more, and then we'll get to our guest.
You know what? We talked about spending more time with your friends and family and spending more time at home. That's the Edmonton Oilers. It's a team that we started with their struggles early in the year, but they need to spend more time with their family and friends, and they need to spend more time at home in Edmonton. They've played some of the fewest home games in the National Hockey League right now, and this is a team that's very, very good when they are in Edmonton. This is a team that climbed right now to the top of the Pacific, but this is a team that has more home games down the stretch than any of the other teams. So watch those Edmonton Oilers as they come home.
Yeah, third best home team in the NHL when you look at points percentage over the last 3 years. They're so dangerous at Rogers Place. They score more. Their power play shoots up. So getting the Oilers on home ice. And the other thing, if you want to talk about the Pacific Division and the way things are shaking down, like Anaheim, ice cold right now. They've only got 2 wins in their last 10. Vegas and Edmonton. I mean, all 3 of those teams are sort of right in the mix. But the big difference is like Edmonton's going to play, I think 20 of their final 41 games are against teams in their division. That's a whole bunch of 4-point swings. If the Oilers get hot, they still have a very, very good shot at winning this division. I see our guest here is ready to go. So let's get out to our big segment. Jonny Lazarus is brought to you by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins, if you're hosting, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Always a pleasure to welcome Jonny Lazarus to the show. He is one half of Morning Cuppa Hockey. He is 1/3 of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast, which is out now. But Jonny, appreciate you popping on. We'll talk some Rangers in a second because I know you're down in Florida for the Winter Classic.
We don't have to.
Team USA. We don't have to? You just want to opt out of the Rangers talk?
Yeah. I'm fine.
Then we'll start with Team USA. That's the big news of the day. And tying things into the Rangers, like PD and I started by talking about some of the omissions in the forward group. The one big one on the blue line is Adam Fox. How surprised are you? And I know it was kind of reported over the last couple of days, but how surprised are you in general that Adam Fox isn't going to be going to Milan?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. And first of all, I do want to say, Petey, we haven't met yet, but big fan. Love what you do on Pete and DJ.
Same.
And
same. I'll give you your flowers in a minute, Jonny.
Okay, I will say, I'm here obviously down in Florida, the Winter Classic, and talking to people actually outside just now after the roster was released. And people forget Adam Fox is one of the first 6 players named to the Four Nations roster for Team USA. Like, that's how highly touted he was before that tournament. And I know it wasn't his best tournament, but I know you guys were talking about it before with the goal scoring. And you look at Team Canada, you look at Team USA, Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon were combined 7 goals in that tournament. Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, none of them scored a goal in the entire tournament. Like, you look at that, the big guns for Canada versus the big guns for USA. Like, I know Jack Eichel played excellent in that tournament. He was one of the best players, but it comes down to 1 goal, right, Tyler? Like, it was your point. I don't think Team USA had to overthink this roster because they were right there neck and neck, toe-to-toe with Team Canada. Not only did they outplay them, I think, in the game in Montreal and win that game, but they were 1 shot away. Austin Matthews had like 3 grade A chances in that overtime before Connor McDavid scores the goal. And for me, the way that Adam Fox's whole narrative, career, reputation, ego, whatever it is, word you want to use about him after that tournament, I want to say unfair is the word. Like, every player should face criticism when it's warranted, and he should face criticism for that tournament. But to sit here and say like he's not one of the best players, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, let alone a top 8 defenseman from America, I think that's just a huge stretch. But PD, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, I want to see how this roster is built too. And you look at Team Canada, who's bringing in a player like Tom Wilson, who was not in the Four Nations. Yeah. Does Team USA have a player that can play that style of game? Because it could come down to that. If it's US Canada, can somebody play that gritty style of game and still be an asset offensively? Do you see anybody on Team USA that can fill that role?
I don't think there's anyone that plays the game like Tom Wilson does. Maybe the guy that I was hoping that Team USA would take to kind of mimic the Tom Wilson addition to Team Canada would have been Alex Tuch. I had my 4th line being, I think, Kyle Connor, Tage Thompson in the middle, and Alex Tuch on the right wing when Colby and I did our Team USA projections on Tuesday's show. But, I think the roster that Team USA is going with is fairly, I mean, they didn't make many changes to Four Nations, right? They just removed Kreider and Adam Fox and added Keller and Tage Thompson. Having Tage, I think, is a big addition. Tage is one of the best players in the NHL and doesn't get the shine because he's been playing in Buffalo for so many years. Clayton Keller, also another guy who, to me, like coming into the season, was the most underrated player in the NHL just because, he spent so many years in Arizona where no one really watched those games. And last year was unbelievable in Utah in their first season. And, he's following that up this year with a great season. But to the question, PD, no, there is not anyone on Team USA's roster that plays like Tom Wilson, because I think Tom Wilson is a one-of-one in the NHL. I mean, did you see that play he made against the Rangers on New Year's Eve where he lays out Noah Laba, and 3 seconds later he's at the front of the net and gets a backdoor tap in. Like, not many guys are doing that in the league.
So again, we spent a little bit off the top of the show talking about, no Robertson, no Caufield, even no Matthew Nyes. And, JT Miller gets the nod. Is it for leadership? Is it for, penalty killing, whatever it is? But like, you have Miller, and if you want to call that the toughness leadership factor, I kind of go like, this is the Tkachuk's team. Like, Matthew and Brady are the leaders here. They're going to be the guys who bring that physicality. Then I even look at like, okay, you brought Brock Nelson. That's a tongue twister, but like, that's a guy who, plays a good 200-foot game, can kind of do a whole bunch of things for you. And then you also bring Vinny Trocheck, and I look at it and go, okay, is Miller redundant because you have Tkachuk and Tkachuk? Is Nelson, like, did you need both Nelson and Trocheck? Could you have left Trocheck off for more scoring? Like, do you think that's a fair criticism that to say like they maybe left off too much goal scoring, or do you kind of lean more to the side of like, hey, it's not an all-star game. You do need to bring guys who can fill different roles.
I do think it is part of the latter. You got to bring guys that fill different roles, but the Jason Robertson one to me makes no sense. Like, Cole Caufield, obviously you can make the excuses because he's a smaller guy. You don't really need you don't need more smaller forwards. And Cole obviously hasn't necessarily played in a best on best yet, so you don't know what you're missing from him in this situation, and maybe it's just too much of a risk to try it. But Robertson has been, obviously he's like 5th in goals this year in the NHL, but he's been let's say, if you look at goal scorers in the NHL over the last 5 years, I would guarantee you he's within the top 15 in the NHL. Like, he must have close to 200 goals in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, this kid just scores goals. And I think people say he's kind of a soft player. I disagree. Like, Robertson is a guy who gets to the front of the net. He'll out battle. He'll win 50-50s. Maybe he's not like throwing the body around, like a guy of Matthew Tkachuk or Brady Tkachuk's caliber. But, I think calling Robertson soft is definitely misinterpretation of his game. As far as the JT Miller comments and Vinny Trocheck comments go, that to me is just, again, not trying to overthink the roster from last year. Like, those two guys were, pretty impactful in smaller roles on that team, and you need guys that will buy in and do those little things. Like Vinny Trocheck, I watched that 5-minute video that USA Hockey released of Bill Guerin calling everyone to let them know they made the team, and the first thing Vinny said was, anything you need, that. And I think Vinny's a guy that, again, will play any role. If someone gets hurt, you can plug Vinny in anywhere and he'll do those little things. He'll give you 12 minutes a night, block shots, win faceoffs, and that is important. JT is the more interesting one where, what's worse optically? Leaving off Adam Fox or leaving off the captain of the New York Rangers? I think that maybe is where the conversation of Mike Sullivan, David Quinn, Chris Drury going to bat for their guys. Like, it could have been like who would you rather us not take, JT or Adam Fox? Like, I'm not saying I've heard anything along those lines, but I would imagine that could have been a part of the conversation, right? Where it probably looks a whole lot worse for those three guys to not take the captain of their team than it does to take Adam Fox after the criticism Fox faced last year. I mean, is that fair to say?
So here's like my quick take on that is like, if I'm Adam Fox, I feel worse because I'm like, hold up, you guys went to bat for Trocheck and Miller, but you're leaving me at home. Like, if anything, it was almost more of like, and again, this is why I almost don't like that team managers and team coaches are involved. And if national programs just had a third party or someone who only worked for them doing this, yeah, sure. But like, if I'm Adam Fox, I'm sitting there being like, why are you fighting for those guys? But I have to stay home.
Yeah, and Tyler, it's a totally fair argument. Like, I think Rupper just said this on our show this morning. If you were to pick one of those three players that was most likely to make Team USA, you're picking Adam Fox 10 times out of 10 times, most likely. And I just, now we're going to go back to the Fox conversation, but I don't know how one 4-game tournament like takes a guy who's been in the Norris conversation every year outside of last year, and last year still finished with like 11 goals and 60 points. And if we're saying that's a horrible year from Adam Fox, I'll take that floor any day of the week, but yeah.
All right, let's switch the conversation then and talk a little bit more about that Rangers team. You're obviously down for the Winter Classic later on today in Miami, but is this Rangers team like? Are they hoping that this can maybe be like a galvanizing turning point for them, or is hope kind of faded in the Big Apple?
That's the thing about New York. As soon as you lose hope, they always find a way to drag you back in. And I think that's the frustrating things for fans. Like, fans like want to just hate them and not want any hope and would rather just them not be good. But they've lost 3 games in a row. If they come out and beat Florida in the Winter Classic, the defending Stanley Cup champions who have been playing pretty well as of late, then yeah, of course, that's going to give fans some hope that maybe they could turn things around. But you're looking at a roster right now too that, Justin Dowling hasn't played a game this year. He just got called up. He'll probably be centering the third line. JT was skating in a non-contact jersey yesterday. He's probably not playing. Connor Sherry, I know who fans have had mixed feelings about. He's not playing tonight. And Noah Laba, who's been a great young rookie forward in that third line center role, he's also not playing. So now the Rangers have their holes to fill in this game. Again, they've been going with this no excuses, no BS type of mentality. We'll see how that looks tonight. But yeah, they got their hands full in a pretty big game. We've seen outdoor games in the past. They're 5-0 or 6-0, I think, in outdoor games in their history. Turn things around, like that President's Trophy winning season 2 years ago. The outdoor game was a huge pivotal part of that season. It happened in, I think, like early February. And, you saw them go on and have a great second half. So maybe this could be something that turns things around or gives them just some sort of positive momentum, but it could totally be the opposite, Tyler and Petey, where if the Rangers come out tonight, and I said 5-1 Panthers. That was my prediction for the game.
Popular guy.
If that happens though, like that's 4 losses in a row on in the Winter Classic, so many people watching, and then shit kind of hits the fan, especially with the Adam Fox snub, JT not playing. Like there are a lot of things that leave you to wonder the direction of the team. Panarin obviously being an upcoming UFA. There's so many different directions this season can go in.
Yeah, Johnny, you look at what this Ranger team was a year ago, and I really like this Ranger team on paper, the previous version, when you talked about Kreider and Trouba and that version of the New York Rangers, and then the full-on sale happened. Where are we with the New York Rangers? What are they? And that's one of my things when I look at the New York Rangers. I always felt they had an identity, and I'm not quite sure I know what they are or what they're trying to be. They're not young. They're not old. They're not fast. They're not slow. What do you think the New York Rangers are right now as we start 2026?
I'd say stuck. If you had to ask me to use one word, that's what it is. But what I will say, I do give Mike Sullivan credit, just because the one area where the Rangers really needed to clean things up was defensively. And sure, they've had their moments where things are sloppy in the D zone. Every team has that. But the Rangers aren't necessarily getting dominated like they did in years past. And, they found a way to win because they had the best goalie in the league and their power play was lights out. That's why they were winning games. This year, sure, while they're not outplaying teams, they're not necessarily being completely outplayed, if that makes sense. And you can probably put down 7 or 8 games where, they looked like crap when they came out and just didn't have it. So I'm not saying they're totally guilt-free of being dominated. But it has been cleaned up a lot as far as the defensive zone goes and those areas. So that is good in Mike Sullivan's part, but the goal scoring has been the biggest issue. And you can look and say a goal million. Wi-Fi okay? You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
I'm going in and out a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So you can say of course, when you pay your goalie $11.5 million, you build around a goalie, you're going to sacrifice the guys in front, and that's why they're not scoring goals. But you still have guys you paid north of $7 million, north of $8 million, north of $9 million, north of $11 million to put the puck in the net, and they're not doing it. So I look at the guys like Panarin and the guys like Zibanejad, and I think Mika Zibanejad's had a much better year than he did last year, but the bar was so low for him last year that, obviously anything is a step in the right direction. But Lafreniere hasn't really done a lot offensively this year. Gabe Perreault has stepped in and been okay, but not exceptional. Brennan Othman, got his chance and I guess didn't really get much of an opportunity because he was buried on the fourth line, but didn't do much with it. Brett Berard's been up and hasn't been able to put the puck in. It's just, it's tough. They haven't had someone really step up and lead the way. And, that's what's been frustrating. Vince Percagliano and Peter Bosch, out to those guys with The Athletic, they put out an article last week, who the team MVP is this year. And the only logical answers were Shesterkin and Gavrikov. What does that say about your offense? Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it too, and I agree with you. This is a team that's top 10 in goals against per game. Part of it is Shesterkin, but part of it is the way they're defending in front of the blue paint, which has improved from where they were a year ago. My big question, though, is it too late? Is it too late for the New York Rangers?
Too late to do what?
Make the
exactly?
playoffs. Can they make a push to the playoffs? Is this a team that can be in the playoffs?
I think they can. Just because, again, like you look at the rest of the East and it's changing every day, right? Like the Rangers could easily be a team if let's say they win tonight's game, it galvanizes them a little bit. They could have put together 4 or 5 in a row, if Igor Shesterkin's lights out. And I think anyone in the East right now kind of has that ability to put together a 3-game winning streak and drastically move up the standings. Like that's just what the Eastern Conference has been telling us this year. But PD, I do want to say to you, like the one thing I've pointed out that the Rangers are missing this year, just because I know you talk about a lot of systemic things in hockey. And I asked Mike Sullivan about this last week. When you're playing 5-on-5 in the offensive zone and a forward climbs the wall below the goal line, comes up the wall, tries to get the middle of the ice and put a puck on net. We see so many goals scored that way now in the NHL. The Rangers, to me, lack that almost completely. Like Panarin is probably one of the only forwards that has the ability to climb the wall. And then the defensemen are so stagnant on the blue line that you don't have a constant 5-man rotation. And even when they do, everything seems a little bit too perimeter, where you watch teams like the Devils when they're fully healthy. You have Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, who are constantly doing it. Colorado, I mean, when Natchez, McKinnon, all those guys are out there, it's just a different league. But the Rangers, when they have offensive zone pressure for like a minute and a half, when it's 2 shifts, 3 shifts in a row, they're only really getting like 1 or 2 chances out of that, where I feel like other teams are putting so much pressure on their opponent when they have those 3 shifts back to back to back in the offensive zone, when the opponent feels like they're under siege, right? And has to escape, this high pressure. I just don't think opponents feel that when the Rangers are circling around the offensive zone. It's 1 or 2 looks and then that's it.
Yeah. Jonny, appreciate your time. We are out of time, but I know the Winter Classic about 7 hours away from puck drop there. Yeah. So enjoy the hockey game and we'll chat with you soon. I'll see you in Jasper in a few weeks.
Yeah, well, you'll see me at an Oilers game, hopefully, trying to get to that Penguins-Oilers game on the Thursday night. So we'll make that happen. But thank you guys. Happy New Year, and talk to you soon.
All right, PD, let's get to our daily Faceoff inbox question, #askDFO. Okay, this one popped up. No one in the chat's asked it, but it's a question I have, and it's a picture of William Nylander at the Leafs game the other day. He's not playing, and there he is rocking the tank top up in the press box. When they said there was no more dress code, listen, I'm all for it. I love players showing personality, but in the back of my head, I'm like, there's going to come a point where we need to draw a line. I just didn't know what it was. PD, I think tank top in the press box, that might be my line.
Yeah, that's it. First of all, Ty, no offense to anybody on this show, but I don't think you, Patrick, or I can the muscle shirts anywhere out in public. Yeah, I get it. You want to see the personality of players. And that was the intent on this, is you want to see the personality of the players and you want to give them some style. And this is TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. That's what this world is becoming. And you want to have that presence of these players, build the personalities up. But you are correct in this one. That's a step too far.
Yeah. A couple of polls that went up in our YouTube chat. We got Rangers haters in there today. 54% of you said no, Adam Fox should not be on Team USA. 87% of you voted no to will the Rangers be a playoff team this year as well. Thankfully, Jonny has logged off and he will not see the results of those polls. But let's get to our betting talk for today. It's brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Carter Hutton isn't eligible to play. We're giving him a 1-game attendance penalty, whatever we're framing it as. So just Pat and I giving out our picks for today's show. Pat, we didn't have any picks last game. I will say you missed a great opportunity right now to show up with a sleeveless shirt on and tell Petey that you can indeed rock one.
Honestly, I should have thought of that. Unfortunately, I didn't.
Our picks for tonight, I got a little 2-leg parlay looking to, once again, I mean, I'm a broken record. I want to get my shit back on track here. But over 5.5 goals between the Rangers and Panthers is pick number 1. The over is actually only ever hit in 6 of 16 Winter Classics in NHL history. But I like a little bit of chaos today down in Florida, and give me the Wild on the money line as my second pick. You play those two together, and they are plus 230. So over Rangers and Panthers, Wild money line as they take on a struggling Ducks team, plus 230. Pat, what do you got?
Well, you're not going to be able to hear me or see me for a second here while I figure this out. But I've got Vegas and St. Louis over 5.5 and the Vegas on the money line. I think Vegas just a team that's been struggling lately. But here, well, add me in here.
There you go.
They've been struggling lately, but I think they're going to come back with a big one after losing to Nashville. And 5.5, I'm surprised that's the line with both, Carter Hart not playing super great and the Blues haven't played great in front of Hofer. I mean, he's been better than Binnington, but still a little bit of improvement there. So for it to be at 5.5, I like that at plus 190, a little bit of juice. Going with Vegas for tonight.
All right, just taking a peek as well. World Junior quarterfinals today. Things get going in about an hour and a half. Sweden and Latvia, game 1. Czechia, Switzerland. That should actually be a sneaky hell of a game. USA, Finland. That should be awesome. Canada, Slovakia is the nightcap from Minnesota in the World Junior quarterfinals. Our friend Stephen Ellis has it all covered over at dailyfaceoff.com. Wrapping up the show with garbage time, as we do every show. Will Ferrell up to his, well, I won't call them usual antics at an LA Kings game. A bit of a different vibe for the anchorman star, who is a diehard Kings fan. Let's take a listen. I see it already in the preview window, and I can't help but smile. Here's Will Ferrell at the Kings game.
Bit of a different look for you tonight. What's with the get up here?
I'm just I've always been in support of the NHL referees. In fact, I trained 2 of the guys out here. They're two of my prize students, Brandon and Francis. They're calling a heck of a game. Yeah. Heck of a game.
Francis keeps looking back at you right now. Are you giving him cues?
I'm telling him, like, relax. It's okay. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Bit of a different look.
Petey, shout out to Will Ferrell for knowing the names of the refs. He nailed them.
I tell you what, that's what hockey, we talk about it. We need personalities. We need stars going to games. This is fantastic for the game of hockey in the NHL.
Yeah, it was good. Francis Sharon, Brandon Schrader were the 2 refs he was talking about there, but Will Ferrell in full NHL official getup. Petey, thank you for joining and wearing your Carter Hutton getup today on the show. That was excellent.
Yeah, I had a great time. Can't believe you trusted me to do this, Ty, but I had a great time. Thanks for trusting me on the airwaves at Daily Faceoff.
Yeah, it was great. Everybody in the YouTube, fantastic stuff. As always, if you're new to the show, because I do see we got a lot of fresh faces in the YouTube chat, hit the subscribe button. We are here Monday through Friday, every weekday for 2026, 30 minutes with myself and Carter Hutton. So hit the subscribe button. But thank you for tuning in today. Happy New Year to everyone who watched today's show. That is a wrap on a Friday edition of Daily Faceoff Live. We'll be right back here at noon Eastern on Monday. We'll see you then. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Jonny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cuppa Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.